Welcome to the Wedco podcast, your ultimate guide to the wedding world. Whether you're a bride, groom, or wedding vendor, this is the place to be. Join us as we dive into real stories, expert advice, and behind-the-scenes insights to help you plan the perfect day. So grab a seat and let's celebrate love, connection, and creativity together. Before we get into this episode, I'd love to ask you a super quick and easy favor. If you're enjoying the Wedco podcast, please hit that follow button on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. It might seem small, but it makes a huge difference in helping the podcast grow and means I can keep bringing on amazing vendors to share their insights with you. Thank you so much for your support. It truly means the world. I'm Toga, and today we're doing our first Riverside recording. We are bringing in our first international guest. We got Ben Journee on the podcast with us. Thank you so much for coming on, mate. Really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
It's like everyone, I've been doing these podcasts kind of in person all the way like the last year and a half. And I've just realized like I do really need to open it up. And even I've looked at your workshops before, the editing workshops, because I'm like, need to up my game. And you're definitely leading the field there. So thanks so much for everything you're doing for the industry as well.
Oh, mate, appreciate it. Thanks
so
much.
Typically we kind of start, I guess, a little bit, like I was saying, we're kind of half our audience are kind of couples and then the other half are vendors as well. So we kind of like to start kind of where you began, how long you've been in the industry, and kind of go from there.
Yeah, amazing. My name is Ben Journee. I have been a wedding filmmaker for, I was doing the maths just before I came on the show, 14 years now. Based here in Auckland. I'm also the host of the Make Better Wedding Films podcast.
Which is amazing, by the way. I love it.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I really like the idea of how, myself included, how I'm going, photo and video route, because a lot of couples, in my area, that's what they're asking for. But I really love the idea of how you are like, I do films, I do the best films, and really doubling down on that. And I really love to kind of pick your mindset around that area.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've always done video. I didn't come from like photography and then pick up video. I've always done video. Just from a end product standpoint, I just prefer like videos and what they can offer couples and stuff. And then also from the creative side, I feel like I've got way more creative room to play in the world of film and video than I do through the medium of photography. So video for me is definitely like my passion and the area that I prefer to play in. In saying that, I have been still like flirting with the idea of the whole hybrid thing, because like you say, couples are interested in it. The idea of having one vendor that can handle everything is attractive. And so whilst I do consider myself a like video specialist, I have been playing around with the idea of taking stills from my video and offering that as its own kind of product. And I'm definitely pitching it as like, look, I'm not like a professional photographer. Like what I'm offering is not the same as hiring a whole separate vendor. But for those couples that do want both but can't afford both, and if the value weight for them is higher in video and less in photo, then this is an offering. So that's something I've been doing where, I basically use like these sort of AI tools that photographers have, like narrative and Imagen for kind of like culling photographs. I can input an entire wedding into that, and it'll pull out still frames for me. So rather than sifting through 150,000 still frames from my 10-minute film, I can use AI to help basically unlock that process, because beforehand, like, it would have taken too long to manually go through and select every nice frame. So these tools that were designed for photographers have opened up another little avenue for videographers to play in that kind of hybrid space too. And so I've been doing that this season, and it's been an interesting experiment. I don't think I'm going to continue it, because I guess circling back to your kind of first point, I do value the idea of being a specialist and having my thing and doing it really well. And so, it was like trying the whole hybrid thing was an interesting experiment, but I think I'm going to go back to just offering offering video.
It's a hard one. I mean, even with the AI now, like it would still be a hard
Yeah.
process to like, okay, cool, I'm going to upload this whole thing, to what you said, narrative or imagine,
Mm.
and do that. Even that
Yeah.
process in itself, even though AI is taking
Mm.
care of a lot of it, it's still a big process, and
Yeah.
whittling those down.
Yeah.
And then, are you changing frame rates to, like you're not shooting at 24 frames a second anymore, like to get everything sharp, or how does
Mm.
that work?
Yeah. Yeah. So I have like adapted my shooting just slightly. So rather than your usual like 180-degree shutter, I'm cranking my shutter a bit more. So like I'll shoot more at like 300th of a second, 400th of a second throughout the day. So that, yeah, my shutter's a bit crispier. So when I am pulling still frames, I've got less motion blur. And I am still shooting like at 25p. I'm not really shooting a lot of the day at 50p, because as the years have gone on, I've moved away from using slow motion basically at all in my films. I keep my films very much in real time. Um, I like the energy of that more. It feels more like a true representation of the day rather than just all this kind of mushy, wishy washy, slow mo kind of. And then look, this is what my couples come to
Yeah,
me
exactly.
and say, because they're like, we don't want that slow, everything slow motion, boring, mushy
Yep.
stuff.
And like,
We want,
what would you
yeah.
say, like when couples are coming to you, like, they always ask like, hey, well, what is your style? Like, what would they
Mm.
suspect your style would be?
Yeah. I mean, I like, in terms of like how I communicate my style, my brand and stuff, like I've got my little phrase for the romantics, which I kind of like anchor everything to. Like, I'm definitely here for the couples who consider themselves ro- ro- romantics, want to, I guess, I guess they're going to have nostalgia looking back on their wedding day. They appreciate writing thoughtful vows. They appreciate being in the moment and listening to their beautiful speeches from their loved ones. Like those are the kind of couples I try and gravitate towards. Um, and within that, there's a spectrum. There's some of my couples that I do click with me are also quite party people. Others quite kind of fashiony bougie people. But and throughout that, they're still at their core romantics at heart, and that's the kind of essence I want to kind of put at the center of the films.
I think with
Mm.
Australia, it's kind of, it is leaning towards like we are having the party where we're more documenting
Mm.
the day rather than the portraits. The
Mm.
portraits are still kind of a big thing, but it really is like the celebration, and we're bringing 100 people together, and this is the focus. In Auckland, like a
Mm.
similar kind of story over there as well.
Yeah, I mean, I would say Auckland, well, just New Zealand in general, New Zealand and Aussie. I think our cultures are very very similar. Our wedding industries are very similar, compared to when you look at like America and Europe, like New Zealand and Aussie industries have a lot more in similarity. But yeah, everyone's definitely like having a wedding to have a party with a bunch of their mates and family for sure.
And that's where you come in.
Right, come on.
And do you
Yeah,
go?
yeah. No, I was just say it's like it's kind of a bit of both. It's like, yeah, we're definitely like here to bring the party, capture the party, um, but without sacrificing the authentic, the like more sentimental moments. Like it's this kind of tightrope where you don't want to go too mushy and you don't want to go too like frivolous. You want to walk that line between fun, authentic, sentimental, um, in a way that feels right for each couple. And this is where you kind of like you kind of course correct depending on your couple. Okay, like what sort of direction are we going? Are we going a little more party? Are we going a little more sentimental? What? And that's the kind of like spidey sense you develop as a photographer, videographer over the years. That's kind of one of your core skills is like reading people instantly and adapting both your presence, your product, everything to fit them perfectly.
Definitely. Like when you rock up and you kind of like, you're just testing a little bit. Like, okay, guys, like how much are we getting away with here?
Yeah, yeah,
You can kind of
100%,
read the room as soon
100%.
as you rock up. Like, oh, what kind of wedding
Yeah,
is this going to be?
yeah, yeah,
And are you
100%.
having second like videographers there with you on the day, or are you kind
Mm.
of there by yourself?
I've shifted to shooting solo. I used to shoot with a team, and I think like every now and again, big weddings, I'll bring on people to help me. But I have a very bad habit of not being able to delegate. So my second shooters got to the point of being very expensive assistants.
And they can't even hold your
And I was
bag. You're just
like,
like, no, I'll get my bag.
I'll get my bag. I know where everything goes. I'll pack it. You won't do it right. I was running out of things I could tell them to do. I was like, okay, you can just like, I don't know, get shots of guests, I guess. Like, that's all I can
I
kind
know
of
I'm not going to
trust
use
people
them,
with.
but get them anyway.
I'm like, it's just like, because like audio is a nightmare. You can't like go sort out the audio for me because that's like one of the most technical things that you've got to like have 10 different backups and, making decisions on the fly. You can't like I don't know. I'm bad at delegating. So I basically I was like, I'm just going to do everything myself. And I actually really like it because what I've done is the points that were stresses for me when I was shooting solo, I'm like, okay, well, how can I remove that stress? Like with my tripod angles, worrying about people going out of frame. I was like, well, I'll just frame them wider. So if people are moving around a shot, I can reframe it and I can punch in and, reframe and stuff. It's like, cool, that's one stress gone. And then like, do I have enough time to set up and yada yada? I was like, well, I'll just make more of an effort in before the wedding, the pre-planning to consciously say, hey, I need X amount of time. And rather than like just rocking up to the prep first, oh well, I'll rock up to the venue first and set everything up and make my plan for my audio and talk to the DJ and talk through everything and basically just like put more effort into the pre-planning so that rather than just like rocking up the day and going, oh well, I've got people, I can make it happen, and just being on the fly. I was like, well, I can just kind of alleviate some of that stress by pre-planning better. So that's what I've done. So now I just shoot solo basically.
And I guess it takes the stress out of like, even like you said, you bring other people on board and you're like, I really hope they're getting that shot. Like, okay, cool. They've got the gimbal, like even with the guys I work with at the moment, like they'll go set up the audio, but I still know that I'm checking the audio before the ceremony kicks off. I'm still like checking all those lights. I'm making sure everything's recording and now we're not peaking. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like even just, you're kind of still in 2 or 3 different minds when you've got different people working with you as well. So even though you've got people doing other things, you're still like, okay, you're getting grandma arriving, but you're like, I really need to make sure over there that those, everything's recording over there too. Yeah, that's a brave decision though, like just to kind of jump on and do it all yourself.
Yeah, I think because that's exactly it. Even when you do have people, you bring them on, there's still that voice in the back of your mind that's like, I don't know if I can trust that like everything's being captured. And like at the end of the day, like weddings are fast, they're stressful, and I certainly find I feel more okay when I make a mistake, knowing I've got my backups and then I kind of like wear that rather than if someone else who I've got on to like work with me, if they miss a shot, it just, I don't know, it like hits harder because I don't know. Again, I think this just comes back down to me not being able to delegate well, and that's haven't like locked in my kind of managerial skills. But whenever I do bring people on for like bigger weddings and stuff, I definitely have like very defined roles, and it's not like I then offload the safety shots because I've already got that in place. I'm like, okay, you're literally on like a 7200 on a monopod getting tight shots of guests all day, and that's your job. And then because then that for me in the edit is like, okay, well that's a definite like defined thing that if I wasn't shooting, like if I was shooting solo, I wouldn't have access to like all those shots of guests. And for like bigger weddings, that's something that you don't really have time to go around and like get all the shots of the guests. So yeah, that's finding very defined roles like that I can then outsource for bigger weddings. I've found much more useful than having extra people sitting on tripods for safety, basically.
And like, what are most couples looking for when they book you as far as like the final product, like deliverables to them? What do you see most people kind of leaning towards at the moment?
Yeah, so it's quite interesting for me. I've gone on a bit of a journey with trying to figure out what couples want and need from their wedding film. And I had a real kind of eureka moment maybe about a year ago where I was like, because I'm sure you've had a similar experience where before the wedding, it's lots of convincing couples that the investment in the video is worth it, and like by the time they get to thinking about video, they've already forked up for the venue and the photographer and the dress and all these kinds of things. But and then so they're trying to looking at what's left of the budget and go, oh, can we justify video? But then after the wedding, when you deliver it, they're like, oh my God, like this is like our favorite thing. And we couldn't even imagine like not having this. And like, I'm so glad we like didn't pass it up, yada, yada, yada. And so I'm like, okay, the value perception of video before the wedding is low. Value perception of video after the wedding is super high. How can I adjust my business model, my offerings to reflect that value perception uptick? And so what I've done basically is before the wedding, I say to couples, look, I've got my packages, 5-minute, 10-minute, 20-minute film. No matter what package you grab, I'm going to film the same on the day regardless. I capture everything. I capture all the speeches, all the ceremony, the whole thing. So by all means, just book in at the base package, 5-minute package. And if after the wedding you decide you want a longer film or you want a full copy of the ceremony, we can do that for you. There's no regrets. I call it my no regrets approach to filming. And then so yeah, I booked them on the 5-minute package. That's not a huge like investment in terms of before the wedding. But then after the wedding, I send them the email. Here's your teaser, yada yada. There's so much gold. Do you want to upgrade to a 10-minute film? What do you think? And like literally 95% of the time, they're like, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
And we also want a full copy of the ceremony and a full copy of the speeches and this and that and the other. So yeah, that's basically, because I think for couples before the wedding that they've heard from like friends and family, oh, you should get a video. Like maybe it's a friend who's already got married. It's like, you should definitely get a video. You won't regret it. And so they're like, okay, yeah, we need to get a video. And so basically that phrase, like we need to get a videographer, gets put on the to-do list. And so basically I want to make ticking that job off the list as easy as possible. Because for most couples, like they don't really, I guess, understand what it's going to mean to watch that film back after the day.
It's crazy the difference. Like photo, you'll do like speeches, 2 photos of uncle talking, and then like the video, it's just a completely different thing. It's night and day.
Yeah. And so I've tried to make that process of ticking that job off the list as easy as possible, because I know that after the wedding, it's not going to be just a thing that they tick off their list. It's gonna mean so much more, and I know that's going to be true because I hear it from couples every single time I deliver the film. And so, yeah, basically, before the wedding, make it as easy as possible to get video over the line, because after the wedding, they will not regret the decision.
Not at all. And like when you read all the, the Hello Mays and Together Journal, like all their blogs they have, like what's the one thing you regret about your wedding? And it's like not having video or, it's, and like people ask us, I actually include the ceremony and speeches in our edits. And it's the same thing as what you're like, I'm going to record it anyway. Like for the highlight film and everything like that, like we need all those little pieces. And I think like kind of the more a la carte realm that you go in works really well, especially if you are like the high end of video. But it's just like once they've paid for the venue, all like the payments are gone, and now they're kind of a month after their wedding, they're like, oh, we do have the extra money for this. And it's my wife and I, we booked our wedding, our videographer 3 days before our wedding. And it's like the best thing ever afterwards. We had our 3 young kids with us. They were, I think, 3, 2, and 4 months old. And even to see them grow over the last 5 years, it's so cool to be able to see them in there as well. The photo just doesn't do that justice.
No, this is the thing. And it's like, so because I am like pitching myself as a higher tier vendor basically, but because I'm video and it's like still it's a luxury. It is a luxury. It's a luxury item. It's not a necessity. I think it's a necessity because I'm biased, but in terms of the general perception, it's not a necessity for a wedding in the way that a venue and drinks and food and a photographer is. But so I can't be pitching myself just like so high that I'm prohibitive, especially in our markets. I mean, New Zealand even more so than Aussie. We just don't have the kind of budgets and stuff that they do overseas. So I'm needing to be, especially like I said before the wedding, I can't be pitching myself too high because I've tried that before and I haven't got the bookings. And so, are you aware of the term loss leader? It's a retail term. Basically, it's where they deliberately, like shops will deliberately put a product, like a desirable product, at a basically a low price that actually loses them money, and they'll put that at the front of the store to get people in the store. Because once they've grabbed that, they'll also grab some headphones and this and that and the other. So by the time they walk out of the store, that customer is gaining the money. But the only reason the customer went in the store was for the product that if they only bought that, the shop would be losing money, but in the wash up. So my 5-minute film package is my kind of loss leader, where I'm pitching that low enough that it's still desirable when I'm being compared to content creators and photographers offering cheap video add-ons and things like this. But it means that my $5,000 couple, by the time I'm finished with them a year after their wedding and they get their anniversary email and also get potentially buy their raw footage and documentary edit and stuff, that $5,000 couple turns into like a $9,000 couple. So it's sort of, I'm looking at these I guess clients from like a whole kind of life cycle of, rather than, I'm not trying to sell you all everything all up front. We're going to go on a bit of a journey together when you sort of realize the value of this product is going to increase over time.
I think the couples even appreciate that more when you are being transparent. Like at the start of it, you're like, look, I'm going to offer you this video, but like most couples, they will end up buying a ceremony and speeches later on. Like I'm going to record that for you because maybe at the moment you don't, but 95% of couples, like they will want that. And I think they kind of appreciate that.
I do. I am up for, I'm not trying to be shady about any of this. I'm not hiding what I'm like, put everything out on the table to my couples in my meeting. Like, this is exactly what I do, and this is why I do it, because I have been doing this for a long, long time, and I've heard the same story from couples again and again and again. And so I'm like, look, if you happen to be the couple that only just wants the 5-minute film and wants nothing else, like, cool, no stress. Don't, like, it's no skin off my back really in the wash up. But just I think when couples know they've just got the freedom of, we're not going to regret not getting our speeches filmed in full. We're not going to regret this or that and the other. So, as long as you are being upfront and honest and talking through everything with your couples, you're not trying to be super shady about it, then I think it works for everyone basically.
And then, so like how many weddings is like a typical year for you where you feel good, like shooting 20, 30, like what feels good for you at the moment?
What feels good? There's two different numbers. What feels good financially and what feels good work-life balance-wise.
What's that? Work-life balance?
So, what is that? So last season, the 23-24 season, I think it was 27 days shooting. So because I did do some like multi-day weddings and stuff. And that felt too much for me. This year, I think I was close. I think it was just over 20 or around 20. And then, that was feeling better. Talk to me in spring when the bank account's low. I might have another some different feelings about it. But the season was feeling better. Anything more than that, the post-production gets too long. I don't like making couples wait super long for their film. I basically try and put the expectation out there that it's going to be like 10 weeks, and then I try and deliver it in 6. And so I try and sort of work to that sort of schedule. And then on the filming side, I don't really want to be away from family filming multiple weddings every single weekend. So yeah, anything more than like as soon as I push towards 30 weddings or 30 days like shooting on the tools, that's just way too much for me. So yeah, anything around the 20 number is probably good.
And then like
Lower ideally.
and then being in that kind of higher end market, does that see you having to travel around New Zealand a lot, away from like the Auckland area?
Yeah, absolutely. I think too because again, video it's just that much more niche. Outside of the big centers, outside of Auckland particularly, there's not many like videographers offering, specifically offering wedding films. So yeah, I get shipped around all over the show. This season in particular, I had more weddings out of Auckland than in, which again is hard on like family life and commitments and stuff. So yeah,
Especially,
but
especially when like 30 days turns into 90 days with like travel each side and stuff like
mm,
that as well.
mm, yeah, totally. But I think too with just the New Zealand wedding market, all the most desirable venues are out of Auckland anyway. I mean, there's some like just over on the ferry over on Waiheke. There's plenty of lovely spots, but then outside of that, there's like Coromandel or up in Northland or um, Bay of Plenty. Like there's sort of all these, I guess, location based venues, yeah, up on cliffs or by the beach or things like that. They're all out of Auckland, really. So, yeah, as soon as you get into that higher budget of wedding, those couples are often traveling outside of the local Auckland venues to get the more desirable venues anyway. So, yeah, I end up getting shipped around a fair
Do
bit.
you come to Australia much, or do you want to come to Australia much for work?
I don't. I haven't been to Aussie. I think too because there's just so many amazing vendors over there. Again, less need to ship a videographer from Auckland all the way over to Aussie. Um, I used to get weddings in the islands like Fiji and stuff, but have been getting less of that. I think too, just like more local vendors have been popping up over there. So less Kiwis and Aussies probably going over to the islands. Um, I I have less desire to travel for work than I used to. I think for me, I've been doing this a long time and like got a family now, and the kind of romance and allure of traveling for work just isn't there for me. If I'm traveling, I want to be having time off with my family. I don't want to be zipping around on the tools, not with my wife and kid.
It's like
So
those hotel rooms get pretty
yeah,
lonely by the end of it. It's like,
yeah.
yep, I'm
And I'm just
alone.
like, cool, another hotel, great. It's just yeah, the romance of it dies pretty quick.
It does.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
Touching on like for couples, is there when a kind of couple are looking for a videographer for their day, is there any certain hints or tips that you should think they should kind of pay attention to when they're going through that process?
Mm, absolutely. So a big one for couples looking for videographers is, I guess, asking, are they capturing the ceremony and speeches? I think because like video as a word can encompass anything from a few shots on an iPhone through to fully capturing and recording everything in full. And I think there's a huge skill leap up when you're going from just capturing some like pretty shots that you can kind of like set to music, put in slow motion and whatever, and that be a wedding film versus someone who can like record your ceremony, record the words in high quality, is bringing like a light so they can make sure that when it's super dark, the person doing their speech is going to be seen, and things like this, like all these little nuances. I think if couples are starting from a place of, okay, we want, let's just say, to make it super simple, we want the words of our wedding captured, because this is like the big thing of where the video starts to really differentiate itself from photography, is capturing those words, because the words on a wedding are super important. It's the kind of event where people come together and say things in a way that they don't say at any other event. your vows, the speeches that your parents say to you. It's, these are the words they've been thinking about since you were a little kid, and they're finally getting to your wedding day and wanting to say all the things they've thought about for 30 years. So capturing those is super important. That's the thing you're going to look back on in 20 years, and want to remember outside of the odd pretty shot. So I think starting with making sure your vendor can capture those moments, and capture them well, because honestly, then if they can do that, capturing the pretty shots around it is kind of the easy bit. Like, and so yeah, that's what I would say, because again, that's the after the wedding, that's the thing that you're going to cherish, and that no other vendor is going to be able to capture for you, is those words on your day.
I speak to a few, same thing, like photographers that are now videographers. And they're like, the audio thing, I just don't know. I just offer like, a highlight film with like 2 or 3 songs and that's their thing. And like, dude, like that, you have to learn to do that. Like, I mean, there's couples that probably love that, but that can't just be a thing where you're just like, audio, nah. It's crazy that that's okay.
Yeah. Well, it's that because it's purely a, I guess, fact of our language doesn't do the differentiation justice. You can use the word video to mean wildly different products, and so that's where I think the confusion comes in, because again, like I said before the wedding, couples are just trying to tick that job off their list, book a videographer, and there's not much really comprehension around the nuance of what that actually means and why. And they might have been told by friends or read on a blog or seen an influencer on TikTok say, you got to get a videographer. You'll regret it if you don't. And so they just get book videographer on their to-do list. And as soon as it gets ticked off, they think, cool, done.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So that's why, and I think a lot of videographers, we're still figuring out how to communicate that difference. Like, okay, like I know your photographers said they can offer a video, but like what we're doing is different. And how do we really clearly communicate why? Because until you see the difference, until you get through that wedding and you realize you can never hear those speeches again, and you fully understand what that means, I can't really get that message across,
especially when people are
clear enough.
Like kind of booking off socials, and on socials all they want to see is like a 45-second highlight little teaser. So you don't really get, it's not like you're realistically going to put like 60 seconds of vows up on your reels and people are going to really connect with that from someone else either. So it does make that communication, like you're talking about, it is hard to actually get that across to people. And then I'd love to, like you, I don't know if it's still current at the moment, but on your website, I saw that you are offering like kind of social media package, like a content creator type of deal. Are you still doing that? And like, just like a little hot shoe mounted camera?
Yeah. And again, one of those loss leaders where I offer it for free in my, all my packages. Again, just trying to like communicate to couples who like, if they've seen like, oh, maybe we want a content creator and a videographer, but maybe we can't afford both. I will just go with the content creator. By offering it for free, I'm trying to like skew that value perception to be like, just go for go for me, go for the videographer. You'll get the content creation as well. And I think by like kind of like communicating it that way, it still like subtly skews the perception of it to be like, oh, this is very much a nice to have, not a replacement for video. And because, videographers can do content creation very easily by clamping a phone to their camera, because we stand with our camera still. We're not like photographers who are like flipping the camera around, like portrait horizontal, moving it this, there, and the other. Like
45 degree.
The act of video is motion blur. Like the act of video is holding your camera steady, so you might as well get both shots. And then you're in the middle of the aisle, and this is how I communicate it to couples too. I'm like, not only is it free, but it's not an extra person on the day running around. It's just going to be like me and the photographer in the aisle. There's they're not off the side getting a random silly angle. Like you're gonna get like the best shots and yeah, because the content creation one's an interesting one where it's certainly thrown up some debate and some interesting feelings in our industry, as I'm sure you've seen and felt. And I think it's actually been a great thing. It's been a great thing for a video in the sense that I think it's shaken up the industry a bit, and I think it's made videographers wake up to, okay, what makes us different, what makes what we do valuable, because we've got these vendors now who can come along and do a few pretty shots and be done with it. What are we doing that's different, and why is it great? And I think too, and then there's this extra element where, and I was talking about this on my podcast with someone else the other day, where it's like, okay, the iPhone's been around for a long time now, like 20 years at least. The iPhone aesthetic is nostalgic. And so, in the same way that the appeal of a Super 8 camera on your wedding day is appealing, and like old little
The handy cams.
point and
Yeah,
shoot,
yeah.
35 millimeter film or
Yes,
handy
yeah.
cams, honestly, content creation, iPhone content is doing a flavor of that kind of nostalgia as well. People actually want to see their memories captured on a phone because that's how the rest of their memories are captured. Their whole life's captured on a phone. They kind of want to have their wedding day captured on a phone as well, in a nice, beautiful, aesthetic, trendy way, sure. But like, you know, there is that element in there as
Maybe
well.
we need like the iPhone 3 to come back, like people want that nostalgic iPhone, like maybe that's the next thing.
Yeah, yeah. But it's definitely, I mean, it's probably a subconscious kind of, element thrown in there, but I don't think it's definitely part of it. So yeah, and again, I'm just like, well, I'm literally doing this because I was doing it anyway. Basically, I was filming BTS content for my Instagram stories on my phone all day anyway. Like, I'm already doing this job. I might as well like have it as either get paid for it or have it as a added incentive to get booked. And so, yeah, I communicate that to couples and say, look, you're going to wake up on the morning of your wedding day with an iPhone folder full of videos, and you can instantly like live back those memories because you're going to wake up the morning after your wedding and not remember any of it. So it is that kind of instant kind of memory machine to start reliving those memories back in a way that people already relive their memories through little iPhone clips.
That freaks me out, man. Like having to deliver that within 24 hours. I'm like, oh,
Well,
you just,
it's literally so.
yep. Yeah, go this
thing. It doesn't have to be difficult. All I do is get my couple's cell phone number before the wedding, and literally in my iPhone, I'm like, select all the photos, add to shared album, add their number, done.
Okay, love that. Okay.
It's as easy and low friction as that.
Perfect. It's not like you upload it into like PicTime or VidFlow or something like that, and like here's
No,
your gallery or
not those.
yeah.
Not those. That's, and I deliberately say like, this is like instant dopamine
Yes.
bump. Like you're gonna wait. It's gonna be just there on your phone, ready to go, and it's instant.
That's really cool. I love that. Can we touch base a little bit on the podcast? Like, how long have you been going
Yes.
on your one now? And yeah, like how has that shifted your perception as like a videographer as well?
Absolutely, yeah. So I've been doing make better wedding films for, pre-COVID. So I think 2019 is when I started it, and it started off as Show Love was the name of the podcast, and then did that for a bit. And I, similar to you, like started in person, just like with my like interviewing like friends and fellow vendors and stuff. And then I was like, cool, I've kind of like talked to a bunch of locals. I want to start talking to these people like overseas that I've been stalking on Instagram for years. I want to start talking to them. So I switched it to online, went through a process of like rebranding it, turned it into make better wedding films. And I've kind of just been like, I don't know, going through little like ebbs and flows with it. There'll be like moments that I'll like pick it up and go hard with it more, and then times that I kind of like let it rest for a bit. I definitely like don't subscribe to a kind of constant barrage of content that I have to stay on a treadmill with. Um, I'm fine with it kind of ebbing and flowing naturally with my own pace and stuff. But it's been an amazing tool to connect with fellow creatives overseas, talk shop in a way that people who work from home solo all day every day often don't get the chance to, compared to people who like are in an office, like connecting and like about their work and stuff. So that's been cool. Also, it's felt like I'm getting free, one-on-one
Yeah, it's
masterclasses
good,
from these
isn't it?
people by inviting these incredible creatives on my podcast. It's honestly just straight up benefit for me. So that's amazing. And then also, I do love education. I love the chance to teach and stuff. So having that platform as an outlet to do workshops, make educational content, things like that is just a really fun creative outlet for me too. Because it's just cool being able to, you spend like 14 years in a career, you amass a bunch of knowledge, and I don't know. I just, as a creative, I'm a person who wants to share and wrap that up into little like educational, bits and pieces. So that's again just been something that I've loved, like having a platform to play with as well.
And especially when you can do that. And then, like you said, you do have those in-person workshops every now and then, or the online courses. I think you forget how much you actually have learnt over the last 14 years. And then also there is that whole, you feel insecure, like, well, who are people to listen to me? But then then you like start writing like a course together or start putting little bits together and you're like, oh man, I know a lot. It's like, and you forget where you started as well.
Yeah, yeah, and I think too, like I definitely felt some freedom when I had a bit of a realization, because I kind of got to a point where I was feeling some imposter syndrome with the podcast and the educational content, being like, who am I to say this? And it's like people who are like 1,000 times better than me, and why should anybody listen to me in this? And like, why is what I'm saying? How do I know if it's the best way to do X, Y, Z? When I came to the realization of going, I don't need to communicate what the best way to do something is. I just need to communicate what I do. Like, this is what I do. This is what works for me. Take from it what you will, learn from it what you will. But I'm not trying to say that what I do is the best way of doing something. It's just the way I do it. And when I came to that realization and started to approach the educational content from that perspective, just way more freeing, way less pressure, feeling like I don't have to know all the answers or have the best answer. I just have to know my answer.
And people like watching you in this space as well, they are, even without you knowing, they are looking up to you and they want to be where you are now. And so you're like, look, I don't know everything, but this is the way I've got to this point and this is what I do. And people really are going to look up to that. You don't have to put on this charade and know really act as if you know more than you do as well. Is it a lot of work and effort that you put into the podcast, like hours per week?
Again, ebbs and flows. And there's times where I experiment with different ways of doing things. Like I've experimented with more like highly produced style podcasts where they feel more like kind of, I don't know, like video essay style things. And then there's other ones that I keep more candid and just like candid conversations with people. I've tried to work on having my, workflow with it as efficient as possible. Using platforms like Riverside and stuff is great because they've got like editing things built in. They've got like AI video editing tools that I wish we had built into our NLEs. There's stuff you can do within Riverside that I'm like, I could be like culling a speech with this. I could be like, pulling out sound bites with this kind of technology. Why don't we have it?
Amazing, isn't it? I just saw like DaVinci bring out number 20 and even like multicam, like AI switching as well, which I know there has been other programs that have done that in the past.
But having it native in the NLE is, I saw all that stuff in DaVinci. I was like, oh, fuck, okay.
Yeah. So it's crazy, like just leveraging that AI, some people still are pushing back a little bit on it, but far out. Like the things you can do now, especially in this like the video space, it's so crazy. Even just getting the transcript of I can get a transcript of this like the ceremony, all the speeches, all the vows, and even run that through whatever AI program you want. Like, you know, what are 10 really hard hitting parts of these vows, and they'll kind of spit you out along with like timestamps and everything like that. And then you
Yeah.
still have to go in and choose if that's correct, what they actually gave you.
This is the thing. It's not like just one hit button and boom, make a wedding film for me, Chat GPT. But we're starting to get tools where, we can cull through 2 hours of speeches, and rather than sitting through that manually, can we get some help to speed up that process? Because at the end of the day, if the benefit is we're still making great films, but the couples get it a month sooner, is that a benefit to everyone? Right? Rather than it's like, we don't want to be pumping out AI nonsense. But is this a tool that can actually help us be, a net positive for us and our clients? Then cool, let's implement it.
And the reality is, it just means that films are going to get better because, you know, like the hard work that takes 60% of the time, you know, kind of looking through all that cold footage, that then goes away a little bit. And then you've got all this extra time and effort to be able to put into the finished product as well. And so I feel like the level is just going to go higher and higher too.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk a little bit about, like I've looked at your editing course before and I was like, yes, this is what I need in my life. How has that, like moving into that education space, how has that been in general?
Yeah. It's been cool. It's been great. Because like the education market is very saturated, and I didn't want to just like pump out another version of a generic this wedding video online course thing. I was like, look, there's lots of people who do that. Great. I don't feel like I need to jump in and rehash that particular thing again. But what can I do? So I first started with my advanced cinematography workshop. So I was like, I'm not even going to touch post production. We're just going to focus on filming and how can we like work on that the best we can. And because filming needs to be in person, so I did that in Auckland, and that was great. I got some really good feedback. Actually, had someone from fly from Aussie for it as well, which was cool. And yeah, huge learning curve, like, setting up an in-person workshop and doing all that. And I think my first attendees were very gracious, letting me work through those kinks and bumps and stuff. But yeah, learned a lot through that process. And then naturally with doing advanced cinematography, everyone was saying, okay, well, where's advanced editing? So then went into the think tank to kind of plan out that. And I loved how that project came together, because it's like, okay, how do you approach editing? It's this massive, long process. You can only do so much in a few days. What if it's like a 3-day workshop, but spread over 3 weeks? And so we can basically like learn a bit, go and implement it, learn a bit, go and implement it, learn a bit, go and implement it, get feedback through the whole time. So we can have a learning process that is much more connected to the actual process of editing itself. And so landing on that format for the workshop was great, and just basically, put the word out to some amazing people that I've made connections with over the years, and gathered a great crew of keynote speakers, all with their various skills and expertise in various parts of the editing process. And it was great. Yeah, great feedback from everyone. And we had like a private Discord along the way, so people could like get feedback throughout those 3 weeks. And yeah, cool process. So I think we'll definitely be doing that kind of format of the online workshop again, and then just have to pluck up the courage to do the in-person one. there's a lot more like logistics and booking spaces and florals and models and everything for the in-person workshop, but both are fun.
I feel like that would be such a massive one for other vendors though. Like you can watch YouTube for pretty much everything these days. But then as far as actually going out and, I saw like the gimbal movement you got and like all the different aspects of the day, you don't get to just like okay, during this wedding, I'm just going to practice this movement. It's in the middle of
Yeah.
the day. You're not going to do that. You might have these,
Yeah.
you might think you are, but then it's just things start going and it's like, cool, we're going to go to the safeties. I need to get this shot for the couple.
Mm.
So I think like those
Yeah.
in person, like it is obviously hard to get everyone to a place and to invest and take
Mm.
as easy as it sounds, like, yeah, take 2 days to really perfect your craft. But then everyone's like, I'm too busy. So I get the
Mm.
struggle with that. But I feel like the
Yeah.
benefit would be massive for the people
Mm.
attending that. Like how many
Yeah.
people did you have on board for the advanced cinematography one?
Yeah. So we had, I want to say 20, 25. Yeah. It was cool. It was like big enough that it felt big and so, but not so big that people can't get their shots and stuff. And people don't get the time that they need, in the space that they need. But yeah, I think definitely having that freedom to practice and try things you can't do on a wedding day, but then also just the act of doing that with other wedding filmmakers around you and learning from them. Like people, like I feel like people were learning off each other as much as they were learning off me on the day, which is great to see.
And even just takeaways of like, okay,
Yeah.
I've learned this. I won't incorporate this into my weddings. There's just some things where you see and you're
Yeah.
like, oh no, I just know that I'm not going to do this, but now I know how to. And just because
Yeah.
it's always that thing where you start and you're like, little amount of gear, more gear, more gear. I've got everything. And now all of a sudden, like, no, now I'm paring it all back and I have nothing again. So it's like always this
Yeah.
ebb and flow.
Yeah.
And you see these
Yeah.
epic gimbal movements and you're like, this is amazing. And then you're like,
Mm.
but am I going to do that? I don't know.
Mm. Yeah, everyone's just needs to go through their own process of trying, experimenting, and I think too what was quite cool is like, people were, I guess, doing that, figuring out on the fly, either themselves like trying out these moves and go, not sure that's quite right for me, or they would be like asking, like talking through and having really good discussions about like very specific parts of the day around like the ceremony, for example. Okay, like why are you getting that angle and trying to figure out, okay, is this going to be right for me? Like, he's doing it different to me. Why? Like, is that better? Is that worse? Do I want to be like copying? Do I not? It was cool. Everyone was super engaged with the process the whole way through. Yeah, it was great.
How did you go getting up and speaking in front of 25 people?
Pretty chill. I think through doing the podcast and stuff, like I certainly had worked through some of my fears and stuff with speaking, and because I've got a speech impediment, that's something I don't know, learned to just kind of live with and push through and going like, yep, I got a stutter and it might I might trip me up every now and again, but whatever, we got to push through. I'm not going to not do this because of that. And yeah, so again, and because I like the act of like teaching and stuff. I had back a million years ago, before doing videography, I was in dance and was a dance teacher and stuff. So just the act of standing up in front of people teaching and stuff is cool. I like it.
I did two in-person events at the end of last year, and I'm like, I'm fine. Like I talk on the podcast all the time, and then like I stood up in front of like 50 people, and I was like, shit.
Yeah, I mean, it is nerve-wracking. All of that said, it is nerve-wracking and going. Like I was sweaty, but looking back, it was fun.
Well, I mean, if you're already like planning other ones as well, you something went right, and I think the effort, everyone does appreciate the effort you put in, because there would be so many people that would want to put on a workshop, would want to do your podcast you're doing, but then when it comes down pushing up to shove, they don't do it. So I think people really appreciate like everything you are putting out, and especially like the videography community with your podcast. There's so many little takeaways. I'll listen to each episode. I'm like, one little thing. I'm like, oh, awesome. Like, just these little bits and pieces the whole way. So yeah, I really appreciate you putting in the effort, mate, because you don't have to, but you do.
Amazing. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Awesome.
I appreciate that.
All right. Yeah. Well, I think we're like 50 minutes now. What we can do is like, where can people find you? Like socials, website, all that kind of jazz.
Yeah. Amazing. So my wedding stuff, at Ben.Journee on Instagram, the podcast at Make Better Wedding Films. Those are probably best spaces. I just follow along or hit me up on DMs if you got questions or anything. Always happy to chat with people. That's another great thing I like about the Instagram community, especially with the podcasts. Just in DMs, chatting with people all the time. So yeah, feel free, reach out, say hi.
Perfect. Any other courses opening again soon that people should watch out for?
Well, I'm not sure what's exactly going to be next. I've been flirting with a book idea for ages because I'm not sure I want to jump into an online course, kind of like all-encompassing online course. Again, like I said, I feel like it's been done. I want to do something different. I've always loved the idea of having a like compendium full of creatives to like work through, and just have on their desk and reference like a kind of physical object that for either for creativity or for just learning and stuff. So that's a project I've been flirting with for years, and I'm sort of probably going to jump back into over winter. But realistically, the next thing that will probably come out is another in-person workshop. So just definitely follow on along the socials, and it'll pop up there. The next thing that comes around.
Man, thank you so much for taking the time to jump on. I know you're a busy guy, but I really appreciate it, and I know everyone listening will as well.
Oh, likewise, appreciate you having me on. Amazing.
Love it. Thanks, Ben. Thanks for tuning in to the Wedco podcast. If you love this episode, don't forget to subscribe, follow, and share it with your friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave a review or connect with us on social media. New episodes drop every week, so be sure to join us next time for more wedding inspiration, tips, and stories. Until then, happy planning, and we'll see you soon.